Alleged criminal mastermind Vusimuzi Matlala is set to return to the Johannesburg High Court this morning, along with his wife and 3 other co-accused. They face more than 20 charges, including attempted murder, conspiracy, as well as money laundering. 11 charges relate to 3 separate shooting incidents, including a failed attack on Matlala's ex-girlfriend, Tebogo Tobejane. The case was postponed last month due to outstanding documents. The defense also told the court of its plans to bring an urgent application to have Matlala relocated back to within the jurisdiction of the court. Matlala was moved to the super maximum security prison Ebongweni in December. Correctional services had cited safety and inmate management considerations. All right, let's go straight to the heart of the capital city where that commission is sitting. Iman Repeti standing by with security analyst Eldred De Klerk joining us this morning. I mean, the revelations just yesterday, and I suppose just getting word even from the sitting leadership of yesterday's commission yesterday, and you just begin to ask yourself how things have unraveled to this stage. And I suppose many question marks still being asked about that intimate relationship.
And one wonders what Matlala's wife must be thinking in the reanimation of this testimony yesterday. One wonders if she had known, whether this was the first time she was finding out. So that's certainly something that is related to this. But 3 important things happening overnight, Arabile. Of course, the testimony of Brigadier Rachel Matjeng. We're going to unpack exactly her role as a senior police officer and what that might have garnered for Matlala. We'll also talk about a man implicated in this very commission. You might recall the testimony of slain witness D. This is Marius van der Merwe, relating to the murder of Emmanuel Mbenge. He is overnight apparently the victim of an attempted suspected hit. So we'll look at that one as well. And then we'll also look at the court yesterday and their decision, essentially making sure that Sleman Karim, as was mentioned by Junior there in that package, will be giving testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. All right, so let's turn things over to Eldred De Klerk as well. So 3 really important things connected to the work of the commission this morning. Perhaps we start, though, with the testimony of Rachel Matjeng. I just want to read her title again. She is the Section Head for Quality Management, Criminal Record and Crime Scene Management in the SAPS Forensic Services Division here in Pretoria. Now, how important or influential a role would that have been for people like Vusimuzi Matlala, allegedly?
Well, one of the things that she does have is access to case files. She understands what evidence there is that's been collected against somebody. She understands what underpins the case of the South African Police Service. And she would be privy to be able to review that information and, if need be, share that information. However, that doesn't seem to have been a role. Being a brigadier, she's also close to other centers of authority and influence within the South African Police Service. So, in speaking to Stephen Grootes yesterday afternoon, Iman, when we reviewed her testimony, part of the picture that was sketched was she's a pawn in a much bigger game. She provided access to telephone numbers of people. She was a conduit for setting up, for giving access to bank accounts, for building and making introductions and building relationships, for moving money around. That seems to have been her bank. That's exactly what she said. And she, like a lot of other testimonies before her, where people seem to have given what they consider fairly innocuous information, things that they thought weren't important. Surely I didn't do something wrong. I just passed on a case file. I just passed on a warrant. I just passed on something else. And what they don't understand is that they are pawns in a much bigger game. But since they don't know the game, they are useful insiders and therefore become a threat to the institution.
And, you know, that benefit that you're talking about in this particular case and in this particular testimony was around Matlala's 360 million rand health risk management tender award that his company got here in the district of Tshwane. We know about his enterprises when it comes to Ekurhuleni, so now the focus is on what's happening here in the province. We'll come back to that a little bit later on because the commissioners they weren't really buying what she was selling yesterday in terms of a testimony. What do you make of the suspected attempted hit on this man who was named in the evidence of slain witness D, Marius van der Merwe?
Well, the thing is it seems to all tie together and it's all around the same set of events. And that means that there are people listening. They are determined to seemingly hide the truth of what happened. And anybody who might have information about what happened, they are willing to seemingly kill. And that is very worrisome for who else is out there who's at risk of who we might even not know, who was on the scene or would have carried first-hand, be able to provide first-hand testimony. So if there's a determined
16 shots on his
absolutely,
vehicle.
if there's a determined adversary, then no one is safe. No matter how we think that we can protect each other, if your adversary is determined and in the process determined to kill themselves, then you're not safe.
And it is a moment, if this is indeed a hit or an attempted hit, of how dangerous the work of the commission actually is.
Absolutely, and it also points to the fact that not everybody needs to give oral testimony or testimony in any other form other than a sworn written affidavit. That may be enough because that can be pursued and corroborated with other evidence, both affidavits and oral testimony. So we have to tread cautiously, Iman, and the commission needs to consider who must not face the public or be public facing, who might have to just meet with investigators, and that should be enough.
So there's a victory for the Madlanga Commission in this historic first attempt to not testify or to challenge their subpoena to appear here at the Commission, and this was Sleman Karim yesterday. He has to appear. He's going to be appearing today, and his links go into ANC circles. He's been questioned over alleged payments relating to police tenders. So this was a victory for the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and one is hoping that it pays fruit in terms of what they're able to extract from Karim in his testimony today.
If he's a reluctant witness or a defiant witness, then yes, that may just simply fall on him because he'll have to face the consequence. The fact that he's an ANC member at this point may not be germane to his testimony because there is no saying that it was necessarily that political party in any way that benefited from him. He seems to have been somebody who benefited from being part of the party and having those relationships. So if he comes, and he must come, how much of his testimony is he going to try to hide what he knows, protect others, and if he's going to try to play that game with the commissioners, we know the commissioners are wily lots. They have the patience to walk him through to the point where he will have to tell his truth. And we hope that the commission is successful in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting day. And again, for our viewers, just to understand that there are a number of things to watch. It's almost like you've got to have, compound spider eyes to be able to keep an eye on all the different aspects relating to the testimony physically at the Bridget Mabanda Justice College, who they connect to outside. And I always want to bring it back to you to let us telescope out a little bit. Where are we now in terms of solidifying the picture that General Mkhwanazi catalyzed around saying, hey, we're in trouble. There are political and corrupt influences at play in the SAPS and law enforcement in general.
Well, now we're a little further down the road. We have individuals who's clearly been identified. We have corrupt relationships that now can be drawn and has in fact been admitted to. It seems, though, that was for individual gain or gain of a number of relationships. The whole cartel idea hasn't really been cemented, and we still don't know, essentially, how that knits together. We have pockets of influence, we have individuals who are connected to each other, and we know that they are connected to identified politicians. Beyond that, that may just be an example of what's happening throughout the country. Remember we said that this is not restricted to KZN or to Gauteng. Those relationships play itself at all levels of government and across the country.
But don't we have some connections already made? I mean, in terms of the big five, you've got your Cat Katie Molefe, you've got Vusimuzi,
Vusimuzi,
Katie Molefe,
yeah.
Vusimuzi Matlala. You've got Steve Mutsumi, whose name has also been subsumed in all of this. You know, you've got a number of other people who are connected and, you know, also by a degree removed, connected to their wanting influence in the ANC with regard to people like Brown Mokgotsi. All right, we'll pause on there for a moment. It's something to think about for the 7 o'clock hour in terms of building that picture that KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi was trying to alert the country to and see where we are in terms of that that revelation or those series of revelations that he made last year and where we are, you know, less than a year later. All right, on that note, live and in charge on the streets of Tshwane, we hand it back to you.
Thank you so much for that update, Iman. I think there's so much at play when it comes to this. And I like that you made note of the 3 events that have sort of happened overnight as well. So we'll definitely be looking at all 3 of those throughout the morning as well.